Continuing with this water pollution effect, last class I discussed about foam, friends of Arcata Marsh, wherein they had merged 6 marshes together for treatment of domestic sewage and other waste of this Arcata town, which is located in California. California is in USA. This was the case study that we did in the previous class. Apart from that, ecological sanitation is one concept that we can look into. See, whenever the fecal matter of human beings is disposed of, a lot of water is wasted for this purpose. Nowadays you might have seen this eco toilets. Okay, so where the dry composting of human excreta or fecal matter is done, okay, this composting is utilized later as fertilizers. Okay. That is what they are doing it at present. The eco sand has already been implemented in Kerala and Sri Lanka. You can notice this eco sand toilets, which is a dry toilet without any utilization of water. So there is no loss of water in this process, and the dry composting that is done of this human fecal matter or excreta, it is utilized as a fertilizer, and it is an alternative for the chemical fertilizers. Now we utilize the fertilizers of worm excreta or worm composting, vermicomposting, or it can be the excreta of cattle. Okay, so which we are all utilizing it as a source of fertilizers. So human excreta or fecal matter is in no way different from that of other animal fecal matter, and they can also be utilized as a fertilizer, and they are doing it also. So vermicomposting, similar to that process, dry composting of human fecal matter is done in this ecological sanitation. They have an acronym for this, EcoSan. Already it has been implemented in a few places like Kerala and in Sri Lanka. And many places, even in the parks, what I have noticed is this eco-sand toilets are there. Okay? So which is going to follow the dry composting process. So the next important part is solid waste. To an extent, in Bangalore, at present we are very much aware about disposing dry waste, wet waste, isn't it? Kitchen waste, then the other waste. Wastes are generally of 3 types. Can you say what they are? Biodegradable waste, non-biodegradable waste, recyclable waste or reusable waste like plastics, metals, they all can be recycled or reused. Okay. So there are 3 types of waste that we generally generate in each and every house. One is a biodegradable waste, which can be broken down into simple molecules by the activity of microorganisms. Non-biodegradable waste, which cannot be degraded by the microorganisms. Then the third variety is recyclable or reusable waste. Okay. So that is what you have to remember about. Solid waste refers to anything that goes in the dustbin or trash. We call it as solid waste. And municipal solid waste are from, which are the locations they get, the municipal trucks which carry all the solid waste. They get it from homes, offices, stores, schools. School is also disposing the waste that we are generating here, hospitals, etc. What are this trash that is obtained from homes, school, offices, then from hospitals? What are these waste? They can be either in the form of paper, food waste, plastics, glass, metals, rubber, leather, textiles, etc. See, leather, you could have thrown an old bag, or you could have thrown the belt, leather belt. Okay. Rubber, it might have been a blouse, or it could have been a vehicle tire or tube that you might have thrown as a waste. Then if you look into the metals, sometimes you have this metallic waste like aluminium plates or steel plates, you might be throwing them out. Okay. Then glass, broken bottles, glass bottles or glasses which have broken, you throw them out, isn't it? So glass is majorly made up of silica. You know about the chemical composition of glass. So they might be waste, plastics, food waste, the utilized food and non-utilized food. You might have seen that aluminium foils at present, which they are using for packing the food. Okay. They are all wastes that we are generating today. Whenever you go for packaged food or parcels, you find that they would be using a plastic tray, covering it up with all the layers of food, or they might tie it up in small sachets of plastic covers and give you all the food part of it. Okay. All these are waste that have to be thrown out. These are the waste that the municipal waste that are generated from home, offices, stores, schools, hospitals. Okay. Now, open dumping of this waste might be helpful, but the garbage that is generated by cities are very huge. So it might lead to mosquito infestation and rat infestations. It's a menace. Especially there was conflict, if you remember, in one of the places outskirts of Bangalore, they wanted to dump all the garbage waste. So the villagers started protesting there because it had made unhygienic for them to live there. Okay. So that is what was happening. Even in Bangalore, that incident happened. Then sanitary landfills are also being formed, wherein they dig the ground and here they dump the waste and cover them with soil. And again the waste would be there and again they cover them with soil. They allow the soil to degrade them. This is called as sanitary landfills. Okay? So they are a substitute for open burning. Some places you might have seen the corporation workers. What they do is they light a fire to the dry waste and that creates flames. They are also going to pollute. Okay? Now instead of that, they can, instead of having an open burning dumps, they can have sanitary landfills. But for huge garbage, sanitary landfill is not beneficial. See, sanitary landfill also has negative things. Like the chemicals from the sanitary landfills, they can enter into the groundwater table and they can damage the groundwater content of it. They can harm the groundwater content of it with poisonous chemicals like arsenic, mercury or any other things, chemicals. Okay, you should remember about that. So disadvantages, shortage of space for huge garbage, the sanitary landfill, then danger of seepage of chemicals which can pollute the groundwater resources. Later you cannot utilize it for drinking purpose, the water part of it. So I have already told you, all solid wastes are of three types, that is biodegradable, recyclable or reusable waste, non-biodegradable waste. All the garbage that is generated is sorted out first, like kitchen waste or dry waste and wet waste, they separate it out. Okay? All the recyclable material has to be separated out and sent for recycling. What are all the recyclable material? In a typical house, you might have put the milk sachet outside, or a Bisleri bottle. The plastic bottles might have been disposed of. So they are all recyclable, isn't it? They can utilize it for making fresh plastic. So they are recyclable, which are taken up by them. Okay. Biodegradable waste can be put into deep pits, biodegradable. So because they would be forming the humus. Like what are the biodegradables? It can be the kitchen waste. Kitchen waste in the sense you might have peeled an onion or a garlic, the outer rind of it, oranges or a spoiled rotten apple, rotten fruits might be there, or the rings of orange, lemon, the decoction, after the decoction of coffee and tea, the leftover of those. All these are the kitchen waste that you can generally notice. These are biodegradable. They can be made into vermicompost using earthworms, or they can be buried into the soil. Okay? Non-biodegradable waste are left and they have to be disposed of. That is the only problem that we have. and solid waste. So how do we prevent the generation of solid waste? Earlier days, whenever we had to get food packed, I remember taking tiffin box from home. One was for idlis, one was for chutney, one was for sambar. Today we don't do that. We don't carry the boxes with us. Rather, what we expect them to package it and give it to us. They utilize plastics. Even the carry bags are plastic. To an extent, the government of Karnataka has done a wonderful thing that all the malls, they should not be providing plastic bags. So the customers are forced to purchase the biodegradable fibers bag, like jute bag, or they are forced to purchase the cloth bag. Okay? One best way of all of you is you can try to take bags along with you whenever you are going for shopping, or you should have a bag with you, a foldable bag with you always. When you are going out for shopping, it should become mandatory. We should train ourselves. Our laziness is leading to generating a lot of non-biodegradable waste. Okay? If we put a little conscious effort, we can do that. And another aspect is, we should not be people who generate garbage. We should reduce the garbage generation from our homes. Don't purchase things which you don't require. You have 10 set of clothes. Please analyze how many set of clothes you have worn for 6 months. If you are not wearing certain clothes, please dump them out. Don't purchase a new cloth unless you remove from your wardrobe another cloth. So it is also going to help you reduce your expenditure, at the same time utilitarian purpose. Anything that you purchase, it should have utility, it should not be a fancy item. If we try to work on these attributes of our thinking as a consumer, today we can solve a lot of garbage issues. If everyone starts thinking that throughout Karnataka, throughout India, if we start thinking in this way, reduce the garbage generation, so the waste that would be generated would be very less. Okay, earlier days, whenever we used to give a coffee or tea, we used to give it in a glass, a steel glass, that was washed and kept. Today, laziness has crept into us. We don't want to wash the plates or the glasses that we utilize, steel glasses, for providing things. So we go for plastic plates, we go for thermocol plates, we go for the plastic cups or wax-filled paper cups. So these are all going to harm us. Rather, we could have spent a little time washing those dishes. Okay. So let us do these things. And even that washed water of these dishes, you can use it for watering plants. Plant approach, if you have, when you observe that rainwater harvesting, here Shiv Kumar told the same. The water that is left out from the washing machine, detergent water, that could be used for flushing the toilets. Okay, they have planned it in a very specific way. If we plan it, we can reutilize it and we can be eco-friendly. But a little application of mind is required. We have to shed laziness. Then we can be reducing this solid waste. Okay. Reduction in use of plastics and use of eco-friendly packaging. As I told you, bags made of cloth or biodegradable fibers. What are those biodegradable fibers? Jute bag. You can remember about that. Carrying cloth or natural fiber bags when we go out for shopping. Refusing polythene bags. I think that would also be an additional thing that we have to remember about. So how can you refuse a polythene bag when you have your own carry bag? You won't ask for a polythene bag. You have to say no to it. Okay? So please be brave enough to say no to polythene bags. So case study of plastic waste. It has this case study is from Bangalore. Throughout India they will be studying this case study. Okay. It is polyblend. They have mixed bitumen with plastics. You know the roads are asphalted with tar, what we call it as the bitumen. They are mixed with plastics. So they have much more rigidity than normal asphalted roads. They have done this particular case study of remedy for by this person Ahmad Khan from Bangalore has done this. Polyblend he has called it as, wherein bitumen and plastics are mixed together and they are utilized for asphalting the road. The validity period or the lifetime period of this asphalted road has increased tremendously. And this is one way of disposing of the waste in a useful manner, best out of waste. Okay, so you should credit this to Ahmad Khan from Bangalore, who has come up with this idea. And you have to remember this case study of utilization of non-recyclable plastics, non-biodegradable, recyclable plastic, along with asphalting of the road, along with bitumen to asphalt the road, what we call it as tar. It is, along with that they also have plastic. Okay, that is how the lifespan of this asphalted roads have increased. Electronic waste. We generate a lot of electronic waste. Even electronic waste should be in such a way that when you are purchasing an electronic gadget, dispose of the old electronic gadget that you have. Disposing it off to the right people. There are many companies which take back the disposed electronic products. There are many units in Kengeri and other places where they are extracting valuable things from the electronic waste. They have some amount of gold, they have lot of amount of copper, the battery has lithium. Many of these chemicals, many of these metals are extracted from this electronic waste. Whether it can be a old tape recorder or 2-in-1 or an old TV set. They are all electronic waste that we are generating. Whenever you are purchasing any electronic goods or watches, earlier when we used to purchase watch, it was for lifetime we used to purchase. Today it is like use and throw culture has entered into us. Earlier culture that we had when I was brought up to 1990s was use and reuse. Durability we used to see when we purchase a product. Today none of them look into it. Use and throw. Fancy items, even if it is for 2 months chelta, we don't look for longevity. Even watches that we go for. How many of you have been wearing it from your day that you started wearing the watch? How many of you are having the same watch? Good. Okay. There are many who change it and even your age has not been touched. Maybe you might have started wearing watch after coming to PU. Okay. But have this habit of use and reuse, cultivate this value, and also you should have this habit of durability. Then we won't generate all this waste. See, what are the metals that you can extract from electronic waste? They have copper, iron, silicon, nickel, gold are recovered during the processing of e-waste, okay, electronic waste. Manual recycling process is taking place in India. Many places they are experts in removing out these elements which have the various metals. Okay. Recycling is the only treatment for e-waste. So instead of dumping it directly, we have to dump it in a proper way. Okay. Agrochemicals and their effect. See, we are going to use chemicals for better yield of food products, fertilizers, NPK, urea. See, 3 macronutrients which are required are nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, K. Okay. So these NPK, we are utilizing it through chemicals. And as a result of it, the soil will get a lot of these chemicals. And when there is a rain, the rainwater carries these chemicals to the lakes, rivers, wherever they are joining in. They take this agricultural chemical waste into the fields. They are going to spoil the soil. Okay. Not only are we using fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, we are also using pesticides to kill the pests, herbicides like 2,4-D. to kill the herbs. Dicot weeds can be removed by using 2,4-D. Fungicides to kill the fungi. All these are being done, which are all going to accumulate and lead to eutrophication. They collect in the water, they are then taken up by the phytoplankton, zooplankton, small fishes, larger fishes. These larger fishes might be consumed by birds, human beings. So there is an accumulation of biomagnification waste. There is an accumulation of toxic substances all along the successive trophic level, which we call it as biomagnification. Higher the trophic level, more accumulation of toxic waste. You have to remember about that. So there is also eutrophication. The fertility of the water increases. You find more of organic components, nitrates, phosphates, sulfates. What will it be ready for? They are ready for the growth of aquatic plants, invasive plants like Icornia crassipes and others. And it leads to death of the lakes also. There is also going to be BOD, increasing BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, and decrease in dissolved oxygen. Both are going to take place. See, case study of organic farming. Organic farming, we can do it if we have some purpose. In a villager, what will he do? He has a poultry, he has 2 or 3 cows. The bulls are also there. For manual labor, he utilizes. The dung that is generated, he utilizes it as a fertilizer for his field. So there is multi-layered processing that is happening in a farmer's 1 acre of land or 2 acre of land. There are various elements that he generates throughout the year. Poultry, egg is obtained, meat is obtained, then there might be sheep. The dry grass is utilized as fodder for the sheep as well as cow and the bull. The bull is used for mechanical labor. The dung that is created is utilized for fertilizing the places. So these were what our primitive farmers were following up. Nowadays what is happening? We want more yield in less time, and that spoils the soil fertility also. There is no rotation process. What happens here is they utilize chemical fertilizers. They utilize pesticides. Today each and every fruit that we eat or each and every vegetable that we eat is having pesticides, insecticides, chemical fertilizers in it. They are all going to accumulate and it leads to side effect. We do not know what are the carcinogens that might be responsible. More number of people are reporting the cases of cancer is more in India at present because we are taking up a lot of carcinogenic substances, cancer-causing substances, which accumulates in our body as pesticides or as fertilizers indirectly or as insecticides, herbicides, they are accumulating in our body. So there is a case study of organic farming which has been done by Ramesh Chandra Dagat of Sonipet. He has done this organic farming. So it is an integrated farming where all the things are there. Poultry breeding is there, cattle breeding, everything is there. So zero waste procedure where waste products from the one process are cycled as nutrients for the other. I told you that waste products, dung, cow dung, it is being utilized as fertilizers for fields. So one waste product is utilized as a nutrient for other process. That is what they are talking about. Maximum utilization of available resources and increasing the efficiency of production. He has also gone for apiculture, cultivation of honeybees. What will it help? Apiculture. Not only does he get honeybees, honey, he gets wax, and he is also helping the fertilization of plants by this, pollination of plants by this honeybees, apiculture. Then simultaneously he is doing dairy management, milk and milk products, okay, water harvesting, composting, that is using vermiculture, the earthworms, he is generating the biofertilizers, composting, and he is also utilizing all this in the agriculture, in a chain of processes. What are the advantages? There is no use of chemical fertilizers for crops. Then cattle excreta are used as manure. That is the dung. Cow dung is utilized as manure. Crop waste are used to create compost. It is also used as fodder for the cattle. It can also be, see, the dung that is created can be used for extraction of gobar gas, biogas. Instead of LPG, they can utilize that for cooking purpose also, the gases of biogas or gobar gas that has also been generated. So natural energy of gas for energy need is also done. Solid waste we described about. Radioactive waste. Where will the radioactive waste get generated? Nuclear reactors. Okay. Wherever we are using them, even for some scanning purpose and other things, we utilize certain elements like radium and others. Okay. So radioactive waste, heavy water is also utilized, H2O2. You know that. As a coolant, they utilize this H2O2. So nuclear reactors, you know about the types of nuclear reactors? Or at least types of nuclear reactions. What are they? Fusion. Thermonuclear fusion, thermonuclear fission. So what are we utilizing in our nuclear reactors? Thermonuclear fission, breaking up of large component into smaller components. Thermonuclear fusion, you can see it in star. Like the solar energy that is generated from sun is by thermonuclear fusion. Hydrogen elements are fusing to form helium ion. Okay, that is how we are getting the energy. During that process, large amount of energy is released. Today, the growing population requires power. Electricity is required. For that purpose, many of the governments are constructing thermonuclear plants. So even in India, our Indian government has that Kudankulam plant. Then there is even in Kaiga atomic plant. Okay. So even in Mumbai there is 1 or 2 atomic plants that are there. All these plants, they are going to generate huge amount of energy which is used as electric power. Okay. For our energy requirement, we are utilizing them. Byproducts of it, we have a lot of things. Now, radioactive waste, I would also like to discuss about recent Fukushima, I think, Fukushima of Japan. The marine water entered into it. A tsunami-like wave entered into the Fukushima, I think, nuclear reactors. Large amount of marine water was having this nuclear waste. Why is nuclear waste so much harmful? Their half-life period is huge. Some of them from 1 gram to 0.5 gram to reduce to that half-life period. They take 300 years, 400 years, some of them 1000 years. You know about radioactive materials and half-life period, isn't it? That's the reason they are very hazardous. In Russia, long that Chernobyl disaster happened, where nearly 10 to 11 kilometers of the area surrounding this Chernobyl atomic plant, their nuclear radiations had spilled out. Air had got polluted, soil had got polluted, water had got polluted, the plants which are growing, they all have high amount of radioactivity. Chernobyl disaster is one aspect that we can remember about. Or the atomic bombing of Japanese cities, 2 cities, where even now the human beings who got exposed to that but were not killed, they are having a lot of mutations happening up. Their offsprings are showing abnormality in features because of mutations that happened when they were exposed to this radiation. Some of them were directly killed by the radiations, but some who survived those radiations, they are showing the after effects of this radiation. Okay. So now we'll just look into that. Accidental leakage. Fukushima it happened wherein the tsunami waves that entered into the nuclear reactors, they led to radioactive waste getting leaked from that place. Okay. Then accidental leakage has occurred in 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl in Russia, erstwhile USSR, Chernobyl disaster. So nuclear radiation waste, even today they utilize it for a case study. those places. Safe disposal of radioactive waste is an important feature whenever we are utilizing radioactive materials. Radioactive waste, they are going to cause mutation at a very high rate. Okay. High dose of nuclear radiation is lethal. It creates chromosomal diseases, genetic disorders, they are all caused by it, and it can also cause cancer. Okay. Disposal of nuclear waste. How do we dispose it off? They should be treated. Pre-treatment should be done for any nuclear radioactive waste, and they should be buried deep within rocks, at least 500 meters deep below the earth's surface. We extract from that itself. Below the earth's surface, we separate it out. When we have to remove them, again we have to bury deep inside the land, soil, at least 500 meters deep, half a kilometer deep. It should be buried so that the radiations don't escape out and harm human beings or any other living organisms. So greenhouse effect. Can you tell me about greenhouse effect? When the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, they are going to form a blanket like this. The solar radiation falls onto Earth. They generally get reflected, heat gets reflected out, and they get spread into the atmosphere. But carbon dioxide, if it is present, it forms a blanket and it does not escape, allow the radiations to escape out, the heat radiations to escape out. So you feel more hot than the solar energy generated temperature. Okay, this we call it as the greenhouse effect. So it is also the reason for global warming. Increasing vehicle exhaust by utilizing fossilized fuel, they are leading to the accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere more than 0.03 what it has to be in the atmosphere. And lesser number of plants, they are not able to take up carbon dioxide, so they are accumulating. One example I would state is, you travel through this Yeshwantpur road and then you go through the Sadashivnagar police station road, through M.S. Ramaya road. You can see the difference in temperature, at least 2-degree variation is there. At afternoon hours, maybe at around 12 noon, you can travel from that place by a bicycle or a bike, whatever it is. You feel the heat that would be there where no vegetation is there. And in the Sadashivnagar road or the M.S. Ramaya Hospital road, you find the Dollars Colony also. So you find that the canopy is formed by the trees and at least 2-degree temperature will be lesser than the outside part of it because they absorb carbon dioxide also. But the greenhouse effect you can find it in those places